All right, here we go. The most hype series of the first round. We've got the Mad Lions, European champions, versus T1, who somehow became the number 2 seed in their region, despite having one of the most dominating splits ever. So, big news already. We see Faker has picked up the Caps Nautilus pick. Has not been a stranger to this kind of pick. Has been picking bruisers mid for years now. Was a big fan of Cassante. Was one of the first ones to bring Cassante to the mid lane, if not the very first. So popping out this Nautilus, and basically Andy's can have a very difficult time ever getting a dent of damage onto Nautilus, right? Nautilus is just going to look up. Anytime that she comes up with the stun, he'll pop the shield. And then his roaming power is actually just stronger than hers. He has longer range engage, more significant continued damage. The interesting thing will be whether or not he rushes Abyssal Mask, which I don't expect him to. The problem with T1's composition potentially is that if Nautilus doesn't go for any kind of damage build, then they may be over-indexed into physical damage. Could mean that we might have a decent build coming in from Lee Sin. It does make that Zhonya's an easy purchase as well. Now, interesting, we have Pyke being paired up with Xayah, which is, a total hilly thing to do, but not something that we've seen before. And going to see how much chain CC we can get. And it looks like they're just going for the upfront power. They know something that T1 does not. They know how much power they've got from this Hail of Blades and Ignite build on Pyke. Now, you use the Ignite there to basically counteract the potion that's being used, right? As they're using the potion, you're reducing the healing. If he doesn't use it, it's pressure. It's kill pressure. If he does use it, then you're reducing the value of the healing. Either way, it's a big win. So now level 2, expect them to try to zone out. This minion wave is very dangerous to being just close enough to actually push back. Right now, the 4 versus 1 will be enough to maintain the freeze here, and Aphelios will just back it out. But we'll see if Lee Sin ends up opting for a dive here. Look at this. They're going to hard push in the cannon. Kha'Zix is not yet here, and Elyoya now gets the information that Kha'Zix is on this half of the map, which means he's going to start setting up for this dive. Now, if we get it, the only long-range character here is Karzi, and it's Keria by himself using the speed boost to get away. Elyoya just going for some chunk damage and coming back out saying, hey, we see the Kha'Zix. We've forced your hand. We forced Keria away from some of the experience. It looks like she only lost 1 melee worth of experience, but the big loser here, Guma Yusi on this Aphelios, just incredibly far behind now. And Yoya steals the Gromp as well. This is a huge good start for Mad Lions. Niski going to rotate over as well to help support them on this play. And now we're going to see the Xayah pushing power under lane. Now look at that lockdown. Niski, if he gets his hands on you, is able to get so much in. Now, Haley and Karzi willing and able to trade some of their HP away as they're going to prepare for their back. So they don't want to take too much, but the plan, make no mistake about it, is to definitely go in and push this wave and get the reset for Karzi. However, because Guma is so far low and he's going to be 2 as Xayah hits 4, he has to play super far back, meaning that Hilly takes this bush, and despite having an HP lead, they can't contest. And also, this Ignite is going to come up very quickly from Pyke. I don't expect them to go for an all-in here. Oh, this is a mistake by Niski. Missing an opportunity to flash, ends up going into the bush. Oh. Elyoya clutch. Niski going for extra auto attacks. Elyoya trying to block the path of the W here. Gets every bit of damage, hits the Q and flashes out. Did you see that? That is incredibly comfortable mechanics where you hit the Q, you flash away so that you know that they will not get any trade damage back on you. The W is already on cooldown, and then you get to take Q2. Oh my goodness, this is a show being put on by Mad Lions so far. 1.6k gold lead. That's insane. All right, now Hilly being Hilly, going to take way too much damage to try to keep this lane in its place. Will not be able to. But he will be able to secure himself a little bit of CS as Xayah comes back into this wave. Now expect Guma to actually recall here. Yep, there they go. The reason that they need to do this is because they are so far behind, right, that they cannot afford to stay in a lane where Xayah has shopped and he hasn't gotten just something. Right? Because he had Doran's Blade. He didn't have anything left over. Was this a bait by Niski? I don't think so. Waiting till the last moment as he could flash in. Owner jumps over the wall as the ward is being dropped in the bush, so goes into the wrong spot. Now here it is, E into Q flash. Not quite the Q flash that we're accustomed to seeing. Potentially, actually could have been, I mean, that was a flashy play to be real, but maybe could have just gone QQ and been okay there. But still, love to see these guys pushing the limits here, showing how strong Lee Sin is in this game, and realistically, we're going to see some problems with this Kazakh's composition. This 3 low range characters plus Gumayusi, who's far behind. The script is definitely way behind on T1 here. They're in a lot of trouble. Let's see how aggressive Hylissang decides to get. He ends up going up. They're going to take aggro. They give the kill to Lee Sin. Not quite as good as getting it on Karzi, but getting it quickly is always good. And Lee Sin is one of those champions that can snowball a game if put from way up far ahead. Niski's stun being used to get the turret aggro. Gets the shield from both himself and from Lee Sin. And this bottom lane is just catastrophically far behind. Expect Hilly to not leech any of this, right? He's just going to come over. He's actually going to block the wave and or just continue to press Gumayusi to zone him off the wave. Check out the mini-map. All right. We might see a little bit of fighting here going on based on how strong these champions are. Hilly's going to move over a little bit late to the play because of the reveal. Can they actually get something back here? I don't think so. They'll get the 1-for-1. I'm sorry. They get the 1-for-1, but they're not going to be able to get 2. Except Keria trespassing to try to help. Huge winner right there, Guma. The fact that enemy team had to rotate over to River and he gets some alone time should mean that he'll be able to push this wave in and get a plate for himself and maybe scrap himself back into this game. You see that he bought a pickaxe, not even going for double longsword, needing the immediate source of damage to not just get traded on over and over and over again. I wonder if he got, was it pickaxe and refillable? I think the refillable came with the Doran's Blade when he had that first emergency back. But if he had gone pickaxe and refillable, I would have preferred to see 2 longswords and a dagger. But here we go, more continued aggression. Guma still has flash available, but decides not to, seeing that Lee Sin just has the angle on you. Keria gets out, but same cannot be said for Aphelios. We have a slobber knocker, an absolute slaughter going on right here. Zaya's going to be able to get another plate for herself, if not 2. Might be able to finish this entire turret. Now, the Forgotten Lane topside, Chasey versus Zeus, right? Zeus kind of started taking more of a backseat role in the last series that they played, went off of carry picks, and started playing more for the team to try to get Guma ahead, as Keria and Guma are just so strong. But it's a little bit weird, this bizarre comp with Kha'Zix and Nautilus as a setup. Like, that pairing I like, but Kha'Zix Cassante, kind of interesting. You know, it seems like it can be exploited, get a little bit of extra armor. Did they just peek it? I think they saw it. Or was that just the spectators moving on? I love the idea of making a proactive play. Nothing to be had for it, though. T1 saying, grasping at straws. And, so, you know, this is what you have to do. If you are losing by a tremendous amount, try to make a play somewhere. You just have to keep on moving. Do not put yourself in the situation where everyone's just losing, right? Actually opt to try to make a play happen. And you might catch someone napping. You might catch someone on a bad rotation. In this case, they're getting themselves 2 plates. Zaya came over towards mid lane with Hylissang. I think they were expecting to rotate Kennen down to bot wave. But for example, Zaya could have taken her lead to this bot wave and actually just broken that turret before making any kind of move now. So we do have a macro mistake from Mad. And was it caused by enemy bot lane showing up top? Who knows? Right? You put a little bit of pressure on them. You just make a play. Make something happen. They end up getting it for themselves. Hilly getting caught in transition. Now, Hylissang, worth noting, a little side anecdote or allegory. The Koreans have mad respect for Hylissang. Like, it's actually incredible. They call him the mad genius over there. That it's never him inting. He might be limit testing. He is known for being caught out in some weird places, but they basically respect him so much that they say, no, like there must be something. And if he thinks it's good, then it must be good. And we just all need to figure out why. So fascinating to see Hilly on the stage now, totally getting the better of T1, and really the legend is going to continue because he picked Pike into their Aphelios Lulu, and he's just absolutely crushing this game. Beautifully done with the execute there. You wait till they have a defined trajectory, as they did right there with the Nautilus hooking himself to the turret. You know where he's going to land, so you might as well just pop the ultimate right there. Something that these pros are exceptionally good at, obviously. All right, Zeus looking for the wall. We saw this matchup a lot already in the tournament. Kennen versus Cassante. You're going to see Kennens save the ultimate. Basically, they try to do everything they can to win the matchup without using the ulti. And then if the all-out comes out, then they can go for it and they'll cast the ultimate and basically win the trade from there. So this is the moment Zeus would like to be going for it, right? Here we go with the little combo. Yeah, here's the all-out. Thinks he has enough. But Chasey getting just enough stuns, but is not able to get away. And honestly, I'm going to blame the build. The Sork shoes, great, love it. This Hex Tech alternator, in my opinion, should be Seeker's Arm Guard. You're playing against a Kha'Zix Cassante. Basically, there would be no kill pressure back there if you had it that planned. And, a lot of Kennen Zhonya's have fallen out of favor, opting for the more upfront damage. But on this team comp that has Cassante and Nautilus, two kind of hard-to-kill champions, they might be trying to lock you up in the fight, and having that extra survivability is going to be worth it. You hold on to the Seeker's Arm Guard, you buy your mythic item afterwards, and then you can finish. But smooth animation cancels here. Good job by Zeus using those dashes to get himself as close to his target as possible. Over and over, rinse, repeat. Once Kennen gets a little bit more health on his back, he'll be able to survive that. But again, with this Cull start and the Hex Tech alternator, he's got nothing to really keep him alive through pressure like this. And Chasey potentially becoming a point of weakness. Now, this is something you want to see. From the Pike, continuously fishing, going invisible, sliding in, Mad jumping in for the dive, and T1 suss it out, and they're going to counter on the other side of the map. So can they get something done? Chasey just kiting around. Can he kill the minions? He would love to kill minions right here. He's waiting for the cooldown on the ultimate. He doesn't quite have it, but he's going to get a trade kill for himself. Beautifully done by Kennen. And honestly, like with that timer, they're counting down the seconds until that ultimate comes back up. That's the fascinating thing where, one different rune could completely change how that fight goes, right? If you're running the ability haste on the top row of the offensive options, then suddenly you'd actually just turn that into a 2-for-0 double kill and they'd be none the wiser. Now, these pro teams, something that they can do to check that out, right? Always click on their enemy champions when you get to lane. Just see, hey, do they have extra attack speed? Do they have extra AD? Do they have extra armor? Right, and you can kind of map out what you think their runes will be. Even though they have a very good idea what the correct play is, you want to be able to do that. It was actually a famous alteration that Bjergsen did. First time he played against Doublelift, he was like, guys, we're going to play this series. We'll double check in this series, but he never changes his runes in bot lane. And we can go double AP, and he literally will sit there with armor runes. And we'll be able to get him. So, they click on the champion, they see that he's got armor runes, and boom, they just all end with double mages. This was like 4 years ago. These players get every little inch, right? Every little bit matters in these trade patterns, in these matchups, right? Knowing where the windows are. Now, can they catch Kennen? We're going to see an ultimate here being used to stun out the Kha'Zix, but he actually gets a little bit greedy. Flashes late as well. So he greeds in to try to get one more auto in while he's kiting. Ends up costing him his life because it lets Kha'Zix get another Q. That is the difference in the range here being buffed up on the Q. Two-man ultimate into ult for Faker. But yeah, the Lulu, the giant growth. and the ability to speed boost forward is what gets them out of this sticky situation. Now, Owner, it does look like, based on that damage, that he might have a whole chunk of points into W. Look at this play by Carzy. Ult flashing forward to get this extra damage, able to use these tools aggressively, saying, you are not going to be able to turn this back on me because I am absolutely enormous. So if there's a window, if they can find a play, now would be the time to try to force things onto Carzy. But Carzy is just so astronomically large here. And also getting those 2 kills means that he's most likely going to recall here with Navori Quickblades. Might have to go farm the Krugs or something like this. All right, the play is being made. Dashing in for the ult. Now step away from the rock. Make sure that he can't get extra damage to you. The smite being used on the minions so that they can clear the sight lines. This is how in tune these guys are. The difference between having that damage right now. Here we go. Ult being used defensively. Peel out. Kha'Zix not on the same page as far as potentially trying to turn back in right here as Faker's going in. But we have live plays, so let's check it out. Now, Mad with this lead, right? Tremendous lead, 7K in the lead, even despite the missteps and the little bit of momentum that T1 was able to glean back for themselves. Mad is just swatting them with their wallets. T1 saying, you know what, it's only going to get worse, so let's make a stand here and try to 50-50 and get lucky with one of these fights. Kha'Zix actually stealing it without the engage. I dislike this play from Mad. You should just be going in. Like, I don't know if they don't realize that they're this far ahead. They should have an eye on people's inventories to, like, know what's happening. But yeah, Chasey, for example, going off to the side to finish the assassination on Kha'Zix, rather than actually going in to deal the maximum amount of damage to their team, means that they're actually down. And now they're down 2 kills, 2-1. Healy's going to get beat up here. And suddenly T1's going to take this despite having a tremendous gold deficit. Now, Polymorph, the great equalizer. Or is it just enough to bait his team back in? Beautiful play by Carzy. Man, you're looking so good. Oh, turn around. Elyoya, you had a little bit of red in your eyes. Ends up, hedging his bets on this Q. They're going to wrap around and try to get Faker. But you have to be careful. If you're Elyoya here, you know what? It's not going to matter because Annie's there to clean up this. No, she doesn't have the damage. 950 in the bag. And T1 gets a tremendous win. Now, you always have to be careful with these Pyke compositions, right? Champion becomes notoriously hard to play after laning phase, right? Very, very strong here. But what's going to happen to Lee Sin, Pyke, Annie as their plan becomes a little bit more linear? Team fights get a little bit more grouped up, and you have the scaling power of Aphelios and Cassante. Mad needs to be a little bit more careful. I hate the execution from last fight, right? It just needs to be better. There needs to be a decision from the team of like, hey, it's okay if we lose one, but everyone trying to live means that multiple people died, right? So, for example, Chasey going off and going after the Kha'Zix, using his entire ultimate in the pit while there's no one in there, becomes a huge problem. So check this out. Look at this standoff. 5 versus 5, you've got a 7k gold lead. You've got to have some semblance of knowledge what's in the inventories. Zeus staying alive is a big clutch here, right? This is a big wild growth. But here we go, look. There's the engage right there, Kennen. You cannot be positioned off to the down left like that. It's got to be in and right. You'd still get the kill, but you'd also be doing damage to the rest of the team. Faker seeing it, realizing like, hey, that's a major tool that's down. I can engage on the Kennen while also peeling backwards off for the rest of the team. Heads up play by T1. A little bit of area needs to be improved here by Chasey. And here we go. The power of Nautilus again in bushes. And oh my god, Matt, if you throw this game, we're going to have problems. I'd like to see him check a few more boxes, right? It's still very early in the game. It's still pre-20 minutes, and you still had a gold lead. You still have a gold lead. You can just move in as a team, be a little bit more secure with your angles that you're taking. You can push in. There aren't very many people that can check bushes, unfortunately, on this team. Lisa and Q, Ken and Q, right? These are two of the tools. Annie kind of needs to get too short range to get up to it. Pyke also notoriously squishy. We'll see if he ends up going for a GA third item. Win expectancy was tiptoeing up at 98%. Now down to about 75, or more like 80. They still have it. They have the gold lead. They just have to be very, very careful about this composition, right? Nautilus, Cassante. If you had someone armor stacking, then it would be a pretty easy cakewalk for scaling. Because there's no real magic damage threat. We'll see exactly what Nautilus plans to build next. We've seen everything. We've seen everything from Even Shrouds to Shirelias, Abyssal Masks. We've seen Imperial Mandate. Many different options are all afforded to Nautilus. He's got such a flexible build path. And once we see the scoreboard again, we'll see what he's up to. So yeah, here we go. Abyssal Mask and Even Shroud. This is the Caps Classic. Although this Abyssal Mask is really going to get about as little value as you could get, seeing as there's no real other magic damage on the team. You have, Lulu dealing paltry amounts. But it will keep him alive to the Annie and Kennen engage. The question will be whether or not he can have some uptime while Xayah's ripping into him. He does have a great tool to at least make Xayah go airborne, right? You press that ultimate. She'll always trade ultimates. And then the question will be whether or not your team has the ability to stick the fight to her once her ultimate's down. Now, if you're Mad Lions, you do not want to be dragon stacking here, right? It feels like you want to do this, but that would make the game much too slow. The pace of the scaling of the Aphelios is going to outpace the dragon scaling, so you definitely want to be playing for Baron and for pushes. It's okay to do what they're doing here, which is to send one champion over as you're pushing forward. Now, if you're Hylissang, though, you got to be a little bit careful. Make sure that we don't get that same incident as before where you get caught in the crossing. T1 happy to give up this dragon. T1 probably has the best read on the dragon meta probably in the entire world, which is don't do dragon. Dragon is inconsequential. Dragon is just proof that you're winning. It is not actually going to help you to win if you're not already winning. All right, so here we go. The Baron Pit is on. This is what you want to do as Mad. You want to force enemy team into you. You do not want to be checking any more bushes. You just want to allow this team to come into you. I love what Hylissang is doing, going underwater and saying, hey, I dare you to come in, but Kha'Zix gets the steal. You better go win the fight now. Take the fight. They've just used tools to get in. Faker is blowing everyone up. Aphelios getting big AoE damage. Kennen finally going into the middle of the team, but it's not going to be enough, and they're actually going to get cleaned up here. Owner sliding off, going invisible means that he's going to be alive, and Carzzy cannot carry this fight. Hylissang playing like he's the assassin means that he cannot contribute enough. And again, T1 comes out with the advantage in a fight, right? These fights are definitely favoring them. They're playing better within the fight itself. They're setting up better. I don't know, let's check it out. We've got that control ward sitting in the back. Now, this is one time where it's okay to have that control ward hugging the back wall because right? You're not trying to disguise any amount of vision. What you're trying to do is say, I know you're in there. I'm putting this ward inside. I can see Baron, and I'm putting it as far away or as far back into the pit where if you go to hit it, that means that my team might be able to get on you. So check out Faker right here. 3-man knockup. Q into Niski getting the stopwatch. And, this is just a mistake by the Annie. Good job by Carzzy repositioning to get that drag back. But look, this whole time, Hilly not getting anything done, right? You go underwater, and that's what we're talking about. It becomes very hard to play Pyke in the end game. Big damage. That was just a green gun connecting and then swapping to flamethrower for the activation. Showing the power of Aphelios in the endgame. Now here we go. We get tools. Carzzy ends up ulting backwards. Niski getting chunked. And suddenly they have no more angles, right? Tibbers is down. They do actually bait Faker slightly here. Takes a little bit of damage, but he is happy, right? His build is tanky enough. Now, what is he going to build last? What is it going to be? Is it going to be something like Sunfire and go, tanky plus damage plus getting a little bit of extra use out of the magic damage shred coming, or is it going to be like demonic embrace? Could it be full tank? Probably not force of nature, but maybe dead man's plate to try to move the plays around. It'll be very interesting to see where he goes with it. Obviously, Kindle Gem being the most flexible item in the game. So we'll have to find out later what that build path is. Now, Kha'Zix, going for a third item mythic. Love this. Right? Finally, the world finally caught on. It took years to do it, but mythic first, overrated. It's not just Ezreal. Right? You do not need mythics first. The mythic passive is nice once you're at 3 to 4 items. The mythic passive is not that important before then. And the items themselves, sometimes they're just not that strong, right? So there's some exceptions. Rocket Belt is a huge spike for the champions that build Rocket Belt. There's a reason why they go it. So naturally they're going to build that earlier in the build path. But you see, even now with champions like Echo, you're better off buying Nashor's Tooth first. Diana, same thing. It's just a better item, and then you can build in to your mythic later. All right, so let's check it out. We still have a gold lead. It is shrunk. The Baron was used purely defensively, and we're going to see Mad try to set up for a team fight. I don't know if they think that they're just solving the way that the fights are happening. It's like, all right, here, this time we're not going to let Faker land QR. I don't know. It looks like that's the call they're making, saying, all right, we made some mistakes. We're playing loose. We can improve our play and just make it so that, we're looking for a couple key spells. But in truth, Nautilus is so sticky, Cassante is so sticky, and Lulu is so sticky that she can keep these champions alive in the front line as they're creating these engages. They're very hard to kill, durability patch and all, very little damage after the Xayah, right? You've got 2 sources of magic damage, and your Philios just pops everybody. And the same thing, Faker just moves up, throws a Q, they get a kill, they move out. Niski struggling to find a way to play this Annie. Luckily for them, only the dragon is going to be what they lose. This is something T1 is much more happy to take than Mad Lions, right? They're happy to take little bits of boons of gold across the map, right? They're still trying to do it piece by piece. They know they're still behind on items, and specifically the Xayah, they're trying to avoid into a big scrum of a fight because it's 2.5 items on Aphelios versus 3.5 on Xayah. Now, interestingly, she did go for Bloodthirster, which might be indicative of a playstyle that means that they're going to play more forward, right? Xayah is going to be more of the front line saying, hey, I can be in front. I have the tools to self-peel the Nautilus ult, and frankly, I'm tired of getting Annie picked off in front, right? And he might be right about it. And with the extra bloodline shield, or I should say Bloodthirster shield, with that extra tool afforded to him, maybe he can do it. I still wouldn't want to risk it. I'd still like to see Kennen in side lanes and Annie and Kennen trying to flank together to make a T. The problem is that there's not much threat from Lee Sin. With the Xayah buying Bloodthirster, maybe it fits into that role though, right? She's a little bit tankier. She can be up in front. She's got extra 400 health to work with effectively. Means that she can press up a little bit more aggressively, which should mean that there's an opportunity for more flank angles to be had. Now, the first strike Kha'Zix, at this point in the game, you start getting lots of extra gold from your W spam. They're just trying to get a couple slows out, trying to find... you'll see Owner kind of reach with the W, and then you'll see Nautilus say, all right, is anyone slow? Here's my angle. Here's what I can find for myself. Now, Hilly finding an angle here. I love it. This is much better, right? You position off to the side. You try to get this Nautilus so he doesn't have just one direction to think of. T1 dutifully hanging out together. They're just Nautilus with mid lane farm, right, and levels, able to just be a little bit more tanky than the support would be. You're able to just keep on fishing for these plays. Ends up going Anathemas, which is a big deal, meaning that he's going to be able to shrug off Karzi, and that explains the combination of the build with the Abyssal Mask. Now, we get one kill. They get the Zeus. Now, Pyke becoming a huge problem for it. Niski saying, I can flash in. I can make this happen for my team, but it's not enough. The Zhonya's goes down, and look at the Aphelios damage. Keria flashing over wall, the team flashing over the wall, and they get everybody. Chasey not able to get enough. Love the idea that Niski had, saying, hey, someone on my team's in trouble. I can use this as an opportunity to go forward, but it needs to be matched by Chasey. Chasey's ultimate was up, and his flash was up. Ends up not using the flash, and you get this juxtaposed idea of like, yes, we can all in now versus no, let's wait for it to come to us. And that little bit of difference means that you get blown up in the team fight. So right here, still not a problem. Okay, use the kick. That's fine. You're down on CS. Love the play by Hilly going in, but the team needs to be ready right here. Boom. Chasey not quite in range. Hilly going to get popped here. And right here, it's got to be alt flash right there. Alt flash, hover that wall. And like, this is just way too late from the Kennen. Waiting till after he gets knocked up to cast it. Imagine if he had had that on the entire time. It's a completely different fight. Mad Lions would be walking into their base and ending the game. You gotta pull the trigger, right? If your team says go, it doesn't matter if it's not the call that you wanted. They said go, you gotta go. You gotta make it happen. There's no turning back there from the play that Pyke and Annie made. So you just gotta get on the train. Well, T1 has well and truly outscaled now at this point, right? They've got the 2K gold lead for themselves. They've got the Baron for themselves. And they've got this composition that just gets to play this beautiful front-to-back position with Aphelios dealing tons of AoE damage. The only person who really could have started stacking resistances was the Lee Sin, and he ended up going for just the Death Stance. It looks like he's going to go for Randuin's Omen finally, though. I don't really like that Elyoya spent any time going for Black Cleaver here, right? Your team doesn't need that much extra shred. There's not even that much armor. In fact, they're not building armor on T1. They're building anathemas on the Nautilus, saying, well, we will resist Xayah's damage this way. We've seen it before in Cassante and Kennen matchups, right? Cassante is going to dump his resistances anyways when he goes all out. Oh, I don't know if that's the hook you wanted. Carzzy chain CC, and they blow up Xayah, the most fed member of the team, which means we have full evacuation here. Is going to be the plan. No one's going for any trade backs. And oh my goodness. Beautiful chain CC there. Just absolutely wonderful. Wonderfully done by T1. Now Chasey kind of losing his composure. Right, you casting that ultimate after the Cassante has gotten his resistances back is definitely not what you want to be looking to do. And T1 is going to walk away with this victory. That is unbelievable. Mad Lions, how do you compose? So, it happened. The game is what it is, right? You had the lead. You should have won. You could have won. The good news is for our coaching staff, it'll be very easy to say, hey, we know that we can generate a lead for ourselves, and we know that we can play the mid game better. The problem is, it sits with you when you feel like you've lost a game that you deserve to win, especially when on the stakes of this stage against this team, against that man, Faker. It kind of sits with you a little bit. You start thinking about, man, I could have beaten Faker. We could have beaten T1. Now we didn't. So we shall see how they bounce back. This will be the story of the series, is how do they keep their composure. Mad Lions has come from behind in series before. We'll see if they can do it.